And let us get into the first topic, which is about Klint Kubiak. What happens to Klint Kubiak's job after this season?
I think it's kind of one of the more fascinating subplots of the final 6 weeks of the season, because if he doesn't succeed and things look bad, I mean, I don't think you get a third, fourth job, calling plays. Like, I think he really needs to make his case right now. I think now that the team's healthy, you're seeing him do a lot of things really well. And I would expect him, if it's not the staff staying on, for him to probably have opportunities if things continue to go the way they are. But he does need to keep proving it. And he is definitely someone that I think should be feeling a little bit of pressure right now to bring his best foot forward every single week, because he's going to be auditioning again. And that was the big risk, I think, with him taking this job this year, is that, it could have been a house cleaning at the end of the year. And Rizzi's doing his best to make sure that doesn't happen to the Saints. They've won the first 2 games. Maybe they keep it together. But I think if you are that staff, you're doing this with the intent of, okay, we're not just showing it here. Like, we need to show it to every single person in the league, and we need to show that, we are the team we were in week 1, week 2, these last 2 weeks. And, if they do that, it'll take care of itself. But if it doesn't and it goes sideways, I mean, it's definitely a high-pressure situation for Klint Kubiak and that Saints offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, a couple different conversations to have here. First of all, I think if the season ended today, I think this has been a good stretch for him. And really not just the 2 wins. I thought the Chargers game, when they averaged like 6 yards a carry, the Carolina game, as terrible as that was, Alvin Kamara still had like 225 yards. And then obviously the 2 wins. I think this offense has gotten back to looking positive again. I think if Klint Kubiak and Rick Dennison and John Benton and Andrew Dinoco, and they all come with him, I think that's still attractive to be hired. We're going to see 8 new head coaches around the league. We're going to see coordinators getting head coaching jobs and then staff openings because of that. I mean, the last 2 years in a row, we've seen like 15 different offensive coordinators getting hired around the league. I can't believe he's not one of the ones that somebody would want. But he has to keep that up. He can't have another dip. As of now, the dip feels like it's because Spencer Rattler's playing quarterback, at least narrative-wise, around the league. Offensive line injuries. But he does have to finish strong. If he finishes really strong, though, he kind of helps Rizzi's case to keep his job. We talked about if Darren Rizzi goes 6-2, that puts him right on the sort of 50-50, do you keep him or not? But part of the thinking will be, do you keep the entire staff? If the offense finishes really strong and you don't want to mess up that continuity and you want to keep this offense, that helps Darren Rizzi keep his job. So, it's really interesting. Now, that was flawed thinking by me. Part of the reason I vouched for hiring Dennis Allen when Sean Payton left was Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator. I don't want to lose that. And Ryan Nielsen and Mike Hodges. And it was a really good staff. And it's like if you replace the head coach, you're also replacing the entire defensive staff. I didn't think the Saints should do that at time. Maybe they should have at the time. Maybe they should have gone for much more of a clean break. So maybe that'd be flawed thinking to be like, hey, if you keep Rizzi, you also get to keep this offensive staff. But I think if they kill it over the last 6 weeks, that will factor into the decision.
Yeah, I don't think you keep Rizzi just because you want to keep Kubiak. I don't think you do it that way. I was right there with you the last time, and part of my thinking was, the continuity. We didn't know that Pete Carmichael was a bad true offensive coordinator. He had the 1 season audition during the suspension. Turned out Drew Brees, offensive coordinator, is really effective in that role too. And then you take him out, and oops, it's not as good anymore. But I agree with everything you said. But I don't think that you go into it and say, well, man, we got to keep Rizzi so we can keep Kubiak. If you're going with the new head coach, you're just starting over, and you need to hire the head coach on the merits of the head coach. But if they win a ton of games and that's part of the thinking, and you keep it, I mean, even if it's just for, all right, we're going to do this for another year and then kind of see where it's at the end of that. I think whatever they do, the eject button's probably a little bit closer than it was before. Like, if you do keep, this staff together, I don't think you're doing it and saying, well, we got to give them 3 years. I think it's just like a prolonged audition at that point. And it's like, okay, went 6-2, Kubiak's good, see what the defense does, and, at the end of the year. If you do keep Rizzi, though, I don't know that you automatically keep the whole entire staff. I think you probably would keep the offensive staff. The defense, I think, has to show that it can stop giving up explosive plays, be a little bit more locked down.
Especially in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. So even if you do go that direction, I don't know that it would be the same deal where it's like, well, we're keeping every single person here. I would assume Phil Galliano and them would stay on it. His special teams, obviously. Rizzi really, really likes him. And Phil was getting looks as a coordinator last year, so I think that opportunity is going to come up for him sooner than later. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think he's definitely coaching as if he's going to be looking for something. And for Rizzi, if it doesn't work out, he's a special teams coordinator again. Like Kubiak needs to prove it. But I would say to this point, I believe he's good. Like
Yeah,
I think he's proven it.
As I've said, I've been wearing was the driving the bandwagon, not only on the Klint Kubiak bandwagon. There's the train driving by right now. But a couple of stats that people might not have realized, because it wasn't just those first 2 games. The 3 things that were a real downfall of the Saints last year: yards per carry, I talked about that, the run game. They were 31st in the NFL. They were 32nd on 1st and 10. They're now 9th in the league in rushing yards per game and rushing yards per carry. Huge upgrade in that. We obviously know that's what this offense is all about. But very quietly, 7th in the league in red zone offense, tied for 2nd in goal-to-go offense. That was the biggest downfall of this team for about 10 weeks last year. And very quietly, that is an area of this team that has greatly, greatly improved this year.
Their starting quarterback was out for a lot of those games, and they're still 7th. That's pretty good.
Yeah, very impressive. Mark, the other day we talked about who has things to prove over this last 6-game stretch. And like both of you all said, Kubiak is in that point where he has to continue to go out there and show that, I don't know how many chances I'm going to have left, but this is what I can put on paper and show what I can do. So I think that going into this Rams game, it's very important to solidify as an offensive unit that, we can go out there, score points, make things happen.